Hello, everyone. This is episode 1 of Conservatoire Conversations. Today, we are very kindly joined by pianist Benjamin Frith. Welcome, Ben. Thank you for agreeing to chat with us today. I'll just say a few things about Ben for those of you who may not know him. He's a member of the Gould Piano Trio, studied with Dame Fanny Waterman, who's very respected in the industry. Did you make the Leeds piano competition? Is that right?
She made the Leeds piano competition in 1963.
God, wow.
Before I studied with her, I started studying with her maybe 67 or 68.
Right.
And she was already very famous, which is why I went to play to her. My mother sent me to play to her. And by the time the morning was over, I was signed up as a pupil. But yeah,
Not so bad.
she certainly did make the Leeds piano
Wow, that's
competition.
good.
What was she like as a teacher?
Yeah, that's good.
Well, I mean, she was very powerful, you know. She really made you concentrate and very detailed. And I liked her when she taught me something that she didn't play herself. And she could be very helpful. And that sometimes when she taught something like Mozart that she felt she was very good at, she'd be, I found that, you know, she wasn't letting me kind of play through anything, and I'd have to remember about 8 things in one bar.
Yeah.
And then when I finally got it right, she'd say, yes, but you've gone slower.
Yeah, fortunately, I just record my lessons now on my phone. But
Yeah.
would have been easier for you, I suppose. But yeah. Well, just one thing to start with. I think we're going to ask everyone this on Conservatoire Conversations. Just what's your biggest interest outside of music?
Well, I don't know. You see, I've had various passions over my life. Like when I was a teenager, I was into golf. Then a bit later on, I was into snooker. When I was a kid, I was into football. So all those things, but I don't think I could ever have done any of those professionally because I wasn't quite good enough or tough enough or whatever. You know?
Yeah.
So the piano was always central. And, you know, I was kind of also a bit interested in literature. And so these things kind of come back in little waves, you know.
Yeah.
I might like to watch some snooker, or I've got nobody to play with though.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a really hard sport to play. So
Yeah.
it's like bring your friend in there. They can't pot anything.
The piano's easier.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it is actually.
Maybe to start with. Yeah.
I feel like snooker's like playing the violin. You know, you kind of where on earth do you put your fingers? You know, where do you hit the ball?
Yeah.
It must be
Planning
such a
for the-
game of feel.
Yeah, yeah, true. So, obviously, you're in the Gould Piano Trio, which is a very respected ensemble,
Yeah.
especially in the UK. And we were just, you're actually the teacher of Elio, who's the pianist in our trio, and that's why we've been fortunate enough to ask you to do this interview. And we're doing the Schumann D minor trio right now, and we know you've played that recently.
Yes,
I think.
quite recently. Yeah.
I was just wondering, you know, with reapproaching pieces, such as the Schumann, I'm assuming you've played it before. Maybe not a lot, but it's you've played it before.
Yes, I think it's great to come back. It's great to come back to pieces and reappraise because you really do, particularly after a long period of time, you really do come back to it with a completely different viewpoint.
Yeah.
And there's I shouldn't really admit it, but there's always something in the score sometimes that you didn't notice before.
Hopefully it's not the notes.
Yeah. But yes, I mean, it depends on the piece, of course. Something like that is just wonderful to restudy. Yeah. I think Schumann's really, it's his moment at the moment, you know.
Yeah.
It's not to everybody's taste, you know, you quite surprising. Some people say they're not that keen on Schumann, you know, but I think he really is.
I think the more
He's
more
more
you listen.
appreciated today than he ever has been.
Right.
Do you play a lot of him in the trio?
Well, we've played all 3 trios and the Fantasy Stucker, and I've played 3 of the big cycles for solo piano, particularly the Carnival and the Davies Bundler 10 Opus 6, and I've done the concerto a little bit, but I don't feel as though I really do that very few times.
Yeah,
So.
I see.
But yeah, he's certainly one of my favourite composers.
Yeah, I was just thinking when you're reapproaching the rep, would you say that it changes more with your experience as an ensemble, or would you say it changes a lot with your your development as a player since the last time you played it, or what would you think?
I think during my time in the trio, I'm on my third cellist now,
Right.
and they're all wonderful musicians, but they all have a slightly different musical personality and approach to music. So it is like relearning something with a new member.
Yeah.
And I think that's excellent, really.
Mm-hmm.
As long as the main members aren't changing too often.
When did you start with the Gould Trio?
I think it was just before the millennium.
Mm.
Yeah, it was just it was about then. I've been in, I think, 27 years.
Did you do any Millennium concerts with the trio?
Yeah, but I can't remember a particular Millennium concert. But yes, it was their pianist had just taken leave, and they were looking for a new player. And I was very lucky because Lucy Gould's husband, Robert, playing the clarinetist, had heard me play with Northern Sinfonia, because I did how many discs was it? A few disc cycle of the 7 John Field piano concertos with them. So he recommended me, and I went down to play with them, just try out, and I really enjoyed it. Played a bit. We just read through some Mozart and Brahms, and chatted, and then we did a tryout concert in Truro, Haydn, Saint-Saëns, and something else. Probably
The Saint-Saëns trio.
It was the Saint-Saëns F major, I think, and Haydn E major, and something else I can't remember.
Right.
And really enjoyed that. Probably Brahms C major. And there are 2 marvelous trios by Saint-Saëns. The second one is one of my favourite trios. Very big piece. So yes, so it all happened quite naturally. But I did realise that my life would change a lot. My musical life would change a lot.
Yeah.
Because I was basically doing solo engagements, and whatever chamber came up along, freelancing. And so this would mean that I would have to really, concentrate on the ensemble. So that's what I did.
Were they an already established group?
Oh yes, yeah. They'd won the Melbourne competition.
Oh wow.
So
okay.
that was the inaugural Melbourne competition. So yes, it was, and I thought it was a really great opportunity to make chamber music at the highest level, and it really chew through this amazing repertoire. So because I knew a lot of the repertoire, from listening to recordings, and even when I was a student at Leeds University, I used to get the Mendelssohn trios and bang through them, on my own.
Yeah.
Because I just loved the music.
Yeah.
So it was a great chance to play all these marvelous works, and of course I learnt so many others which I didn't know anything about, and we've commissioned many. So.
I see. Right.
Well, I've got a question actually, because we're in a piano trio ourselves.
Yes.
Many people watching, probably in their own chamber groups, just starting out. Just wondering what advice you'd give to younger people who are trying to make their chamber groups more well known, fill up their concert diaries and things like that. What can they do to really get themselves out there?
Well, I mean, obviously you've got to write to promoters. You've got to, this is the age of, your social media, and, you've got to have films and recordings of yourself. There's plenty of competitions. It's just getting out there, isn't it? And making yourselves known, and sticking together, Yeah.
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 Any advice on sticking together?
Yeah. Yes, well, you have to be very tolerant and forgiving, but above all, everyone has to be contributing to the life of it, musically and professionally, and so it's what Peter Cropper used to say. The Lindsay Quartet leader said he's one of those people who believes you only get out of life what you put in.
Yeah.
And
like
I think your trio is doing very well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
We told him to say that. But yeah, I think one big question I was quite interested in was, so obviously when you're learning piano, you would tend to mainly work with solo repertoire. I mean,
Yeah.
up to a point. So did you find it quite easy to move towards chamber music, or because I feel like that's something that a lot of pianists starting out to play chamber.
I think I
struggle
always
with.
loved chamber music. I remember going to Dartington Summer School when I was about 12 and playing various solo pieces. And I heard Brahms's D minor violin sonata, and I completely fell in love with it. Then we got Isaac Stern's recording with Alexander Zakin, which I still love.
Very good.
And lo and behold, I made a friend who's still my best friend from all these years, Nigel Goldberg, who's a violin teacher in London, and we were 12, 13, and he was learning it. So I had a go at the piano part. Anyway,
Slap to the face.
so it's a bit like, jumping in the deep end. So, but anyway, but that's how my playing of chamber music started. Because we were both in the National Youth Orchestra. That was a way of getting, which was Fanny's idea to go into the National Youth Orchestra. I was just in the percussion department, But that was a way to meet musicians.
Yeah, you
and
met
that's
my old
what
teacher actually, didn't you, Ben Holland? I think.
Yes,
Vaguely
we
remember
used
you
to tell
mentioning that.
jokes in the dorm after hours. And it was great fun.
Of course.
That's great. Yeah, well, it's just
So yes, I mean, I always did play chamber music, but like I say, it's kind of joining a regular group is a big difference. I was never like you guys in a regular trio at your stage.
Did you ever have to learn how to rehearse?
Well, I think, the first couple of months, I remember Martin Story was the cellist then, is that they said they did all the talking and then I wrote it down. But it got a bit more democratic as it went on.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's good.
it got easy way, and you can't come in, stomping around and
Yeah, that's true.
shouting.
No,
You've just
no,
joined,
no.
you have to be a
it's
malleable person.
listening to each other's ideas, listening to each other playing, and whatever visuals you need, communication. I can't remember what the question was now, but
Did you ever need to learn to rehearse?
oh yes, learning to rehearse. Yes. I mean, yes. You have to. I mean, I'm very diplomatic. I must say, I'm very tactful.
Yeah.
Very occasionally I've lost my patience, but I don't think in not very occasionally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, you have to be. There's a way of putting things in a very positive light.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's fine to have arguments in a chamber group, is to have passion.
Well,
for
the
music,
thing is,
isn't
I
it?
always feel like when we do have a kind of focal point where we simply don't agree, we have to come to a kind of synthesis of the three views or the two views or whatever it is. And often the synthesis is a revelation.
Right.
So sometimes an argument is a good thing
Yeah.
because you have to really think through it.
It forces you to try.
Yeah, because you have to see
Another
someone
option.
else's point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah. True.
There's
I
a
guess
synthesis comes out of it.
you might not always be right as well.
Oh no. I mean, but you can feel something so strongly inside,
Yeah.
and you really believe you're right.
Yeah.
So I think if you feel something strong, you should say it.
Yeah. True. Well, so we've spoken quite a lot about chamber music there. I think it'd be nice to just briefly move on to solo.
Yeah.
So you've had a very impressive solo career. Gold medal at the Rubinstein competition in '89.
Yeah.
That's what I have, which is good. That's right.
Yeah.
So how was that experience? What was the preparation like? How many hours practice were you doing for a competition?
I had a lot of lessons, and I remember Fanny was teaching me the first stage over and over again because she didn't want me to disgrace her in Israel, amongst all her friends, and so we did a lot on the first stage. So I was very well prepared, but not so much for the later stages.
Yeah, well, I suppose at least you settle in a little bit with the first
Yeah,
stage.
I remember
and then-
being incredibly nervous.
Really?
But my first stage was very successful, and then it just kind of built in from there.
Wow.
And the second stage was very successful. The
All of it
music
was quite successful.
No, but the chamber music was most successful actually,
Oh, there's a
which
chamber
was
music
quite
element.
prophetic. Yes, there was. I played the Dvorak Quintet, which I had played
good piece.
before. I'd played it with the Sorrel Quartet.
Right.
A marvelous lady in Huddersfield got me the gig. She got Lucy's first violin. Well, she helped Lucy to get her first violin.
I see.
And Marjorie Glendinning. And she got me this marvellous engagement with the Sorrel Quartet in Huddersfield, playing the Dvorak. And I think I'd played it a couple of times. So I knew the piece well. And it went down very well. Just had one rehearsal. And the solo, the concertos were a bit up and down. I don't think I did my very best in the final. I was a bit, and these competitions are so tiring.
Yeah.
I was more or less pushed. I was, but I think
least
the
everyone's in
Beethoven
the
one,
same
we had to do
round.
two concertos in Rubinstein.
2 concertos in the final.
Yeah.
One after the other.
No, on 2 different nights. One smaller and one romantic. I did Beethoven and Chopin. Yeah.
How would you balance like that amount of repertoire at once?
I mean, I think competitions were very good for me because they really made me focus and, practice very effectively and get up a sizable amount of repertoire. I think it was very good for me. Mm-hmm. Probably, I'm a bit too easygoing. Mm-hmm. But, when you've been kicked out of a couple of competitions, it hurts. You don't like that. So it's your pride kicks in.
Yeah.
And you want to do better.
Some people say that competitions aren't always the best thing.
No, well, they're what my mother used to say, a necessary evil. Mm. But, I mean, I think they did me a lot of good. If I didn't play my best, I didn't go through. If I played my best, I did very well. So I feel I got what I deserved from competitions. But I think, goodness knows what goes on in these things. Mm. I mean, it must seem a bit of a lottery. Of course, there are so many now.
Mm. There's loads.
Yeah, so, if you don't win, it's like horse races. If you don't win, you might win another one.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
It's true.
I did 6 international competitions, and I think it was enough. A lot of people, it was like a career. The other which went from one to the next, but I don't know where they found the money. I got a grant at the end from the Munster Trust to do a few more, and it just ran out when I won the Rubinstein. So I was just
that was handy.
Topped it up again.
Yeah,
that's good. Yeah. So that's to do with performing, but you also have some very highly regarded recordings, in particular John Field's concertos. Yeah. I think they topped, or they were very high up the classical charts.
Yeah.
So they're not particularally well known.
No, it's funny. They like the records, but you can hardly ever get an engagement. I've played maybe twice. Well, I played one in Warsaw with Warsaw Phil because they had a big Chopin festival, one of his 200th anniversary. Right. But they wanted they've heard the Chopin concerto so many times. So I had to play Hummel, A minor, and the Field number 5. Right. Which is what's got a big storm in the middle. It's great fun. Yeah. And so that was lovely to do that. But yes, they hardly ever come up. Mm. They're not, nobody really knows the tunes, but they're delightful pieces. Yeah. Mm. I mean, his nocturnes are more famous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have a recording on Spotify.
I did a Mozart concerto when I was about 15, K453 in Sheffield with a Hallam Symphony, which is still going. Right. And the music critic from Yorkshire Post, he later became Naxos agent, David Denton. And he was basically running things for Naxos, and he put me in touch with the company after the Rubinstein competition. Right. So that's how I got into Naxos. And we're still working with them, with a trio. And it's been a wonderful relationship.
Very good collaboration, yeah. Just the little connections that go the longest way, really.
Yeah,
when you're 15.
I played Mozart, and I always remember, it's like that marvelous saying something, yum pom 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 pom, and the review said Benjamin Frith should fall in love. He said, "You'll play even better when he..." I remember that. It's funny with you.
15 years old. That is very funny. Yeah, just one interesting question about John Field.
Yeah.
Obviously, because they're not really played that much, why do you think that your interpretation kind of came across so well, or how did you come to conclusions about your own interpretation?
Well, I mean, there isn't a lot of... Back then, there wasn't a lot of competition with the Field. There was some good competition, you know, John O'Connor, the Irish pianist who played Field beautifully. But I think it was just, you know, Naxos, it was a fresh company. The music's very fresh, and people were kind of enchanted by the music. It is very attractive music.
Yeah.
It's kind of between Mozart and Chopin, you know, it's very early classical. And I feel I'm attracted to that era.
Yeah.
Like with the trio at the moment, we're doing Heinrich Marschner trios, and and nobody knows them, and they're marvelous pieces. Yeah, he's a contemporary of Weber, very romantic, an opera composer. So yes, I think Field was the right kind of thing at the right time, and I enjoyed them very, very much because I'd done a lot of Mozart, Beethoven, so I had the right equipment for that, you know. If they'd have asked me to play Ravel or something, I probably wouldn't have been nearly as successful. So anyway, so yes, I was very lucky, and I said that led to the job with the trio. So one thing does tend to lead to another. Yeah.
So if you've got a piece of music that is not very well known or not very well played, where do you get the inspiration and how for your interpretations from?
Sometimes a piece that you didn't know of at all, you know, it kind of lands on your desk and you'd never dreamed of playing, but sometimes it can be the most successful thing. I think there's always a connection with something else. Like I say, Field with Mozart, and this guy Marschner with Weber, and no, I mean, so some projects I would never have thought of, and they've been very rewarding. So, alternatively, sometimes you have a favourite piece that you've listened to on recordings, and then you finally come to play it, and then you find it doesn't actually suit you. You know, it might be your favourite music, but it might not be the best for you.
Yeah. See. Perhaps now we'll move on to teaching. I think.
Yeah.
So you teach here, where we study the RNCM. Was RNCM your first teaching job?
No, I think I did a bit at Leeds University post me doing my degree there, and then my first proper job was at Huddersfield University, because they asked Peter Hill, who I did two pianos with for many years, and he said, "No, I don't teach, ask Ben Frith." So I was thrilled to get this proper job. You know, I'd never had a proper job.
Yeah.
So I was living in Worksop then, which is just inside North Nottinghamshire. It was quite a trek to get to Huddersfield. And I had to start at 9 a.m.
Oh,
so I remember getting up at some ridiculous hour to go there, because I'm always terrified of being late.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, and
it's a good trait.
yes. Anyway, but I enjoyed this very much. You know, the long days, and I enjoyed it very much. I mean, when I first started teaching in Leeds, when I was a student at Leeds, because I had lots of kids down Harrogate Road there. They wanted their kids to do music, and Fanny, you'd heard all the gossip. She said, "I hear you've been shouting at your pupils." She said, "You think I shout? I don't. I energize." So anyway, I was ticked off, because I was probably trying to be the next Fanny Waterman, you know. Anyway, so that's how I said. But no, my first proper job was Huddersfield, and then suddenly, Rena Kellaway, who was head of piano, got in touch and said, it was about 22 years ago, and said, would I like to come and talk about coming here? So I did.
It's very good. Very good school.
So I was thrilled to get that.
Yeah, so obviously we've managed to speak to you today because of Elio, who is our pianist. I mentioned that a bit earlier.
Yeah.
So you've got a few other students who are just wondering who's your favourite.
Oh, they're all my favourites. Yeah.
Joking. Elio will laugh at that when she watches this. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So we already spoke about Fanny Waterman. So maybe we can ask these just last few kind of
Sure.
remaining questions. What was like the best lesson or piece of advice during your career that you received?
I don't know. That's.
Maybe I should have given you that
She always used to say the quickest performance is not necessarily the best. And the last lesson I ever had, which wasn't a formal lesson, of course, she kept saying, "Too loud, too loud." Everything was too loud. No, but I mean, the lessons were, sometimes she didn't play, and when she was a bit younger, when she would play, and she didn't play the difficult bits, but if to say the second subject of a Schubert sonata, I used to just gawp at the sound she was making and the beauty of the phrasing. I'll never forget those moments. Yeah. I think she's not given her due as a teacher, to be honest, because she's the big competition queen, But she had wonderful students way before I came. Michael Roll, Alan Schiller, Wendy Waterman, Kathleen Jones. They all played, with big orchestras in their teens. Yeah. She was a wizard.
Yeah.
She had the Midas touch with them. Yeah.
Was she your only teacher?
Well, from age 10, 11, yeah.
Mm. Right. Did you have any other inspirations?
Well, I played for Murray Parade twice, which was a great thrill.
Right.
But these top performing artists, they don't have a lot of time to teach, and I think Fanny was a bit possessive, to be honest. But did you
ever ask to change and then she kicked off?
Well, there was one time when Karl-Heinz Kemmerling, he had a great German teacher in Hanover who taught people like Lars Vogt and Wolfgang Manz, marvelous people. And I never heard a bad pupil from Kemmerling. He was one, and he took an interest in me because I played at a EPTA conference, European Pianist Association, at Royal Holloway College, and so he invited me to go to Hanover to play for his students and talk, and we spoke about piano playing, and it was a lovely week, and you had a Grotchen-Steinweg in every room in the house. And he said, "Mr. Frith, why you always practice slowly? Scientists have proved this is no good." Anyway, in the end, he said I could go to him, but I was in my early 20s. I already had some career in England. I didn't really know the language, just a smattering. So I ended up staying with Fanny for that time until and then the competition successes came after that. But I might have studied with Kemmerling, and I admired him a lot. I think Thomas Dewis came to Fanny, and from Kemmerling,
All right.
So there was a little bit of kind of trading going on.
So did he not believe in slow practice?
Well, he probably didn't at that particular moment, but he probably people have phases, don't they?
Yeah. So. This is quite a hard question, but it's worth asking. What do you think has changed about the industry, and how can young musicians today?
Well, I think young musicians doing very well because you're much better at social media than we are, golden oldies. So you're much better at getting yourselves out there, and it's just all this. Everything is filmed and everything is recorded. When I was a kid, the thought of being recorded was terrible.
Yeah.
I didn't want anybody to hear anything. But actually, recording has been one of the joys of my professional life, because you learn such a lot from it, and you get really close to the music. Yeah, it's like relearning it again. Yeah.
Even just in the practice room, it could be the most effective.
Yes, yeah.
To the visual and and sound.
You know, some
as well.
people say to me, never listen to yourself. Gil Sharon said, never listen to yourself. I think there's a balance.
Yeah, there is. Just, you can definitely overdo it, can't you? Yeah. And just finally, we're planning on making a playlist of all the people we've interviewed. We're going to ask, what's your personal favourite performance or recording of a piece? That's...
What, that I did or what somebody else did?
No, just, whatever. It could be one of yours, but maybe that's not the most humble.
Well, no, it's not very humble at all.
Wouldn't blame you, though.
Well, this is very difficult, isn't it? I mean, you hear all kinds of things, you know, as you said, these days, you know, you can hear so many things on the internet. And things are flashing by all the time, so it's very difficult to... I used to have my favourite... I used to listen to Alfred Cortot a lot, his Chopin preludes, and... yeah, I mean, I love Pariah's Bach with St. Martin's in the Fields, his concertos, but it's often because I just love the music anyway.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I loved Isaac Stern's Brahms, you know, and of course it goes in, you know, I've been listening to recordings for 60 years. So it goes in waves. Yeah. I mean, just the other day, a friend sent me Annie Fisher's Chopin #1. I didn't know she played Chopin #1. And it must be from, I don't know when, it's from the 50s or 60s, or I don't know when it is. I just loved it. Right. You know, every note with such meaning. And it's kind of like the new classicism, Chopin. You know.
Yeah. Well, that's given us a nice selection. We'll pick the best one. Put it on the playlist.
Just put our trio's videos on there.
Yeah. I used to like the Beaux-Arts Mendelssohn D minor. I thought Presley played that marvellously.
Okay. Yeah,
I haven't listened to it though for 30 years.
All right. Maybe misremembering that. Yeah.
Hope not.
Yeah. Well, I think that concludes our interview.
Yeah. Thanks very much.
Thank you. It's very enjoyable.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on and speaking to us. Thank you to the watchers. We'll see you for the next episode.